0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. It's an opening day week episode of the Phixated Podcast, and I am joined by a guy tonight. Oh, by the way, my name is Mike Azzolina, and I am the host of the Phixated Podcast, and I'm joined by a guy who used to love having strangers over to the house in college. Regzy Boo, how's it going?
Did I love it, or could I just not avoid it? I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was the second one.
Yeah, I think that's probably more.
I mean, again, I think I'm a pretty fun-loving, happy guy, sociable person. I don't think I was ever turning many people away, although I do think that was my job many nights.
Yeah, absolutely. You were definitely
the bouncer. Yeah.
Like you were the bouncer. You were the heavy. You were the guy that.
So let's think about this. Stein, Phil, you would be the people inviting people.
Uh-huh. And Ryan.
Yep, and Ryan. Fairbanks would have the cups because he would always be the stingiest.
And he would make people pay.
Exactly.
Well, some people, not everybody.
Okay, so more people than most of the rest of us. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
Josh would be in his room actually studying and becoming, a very smart lawyer.
Yes. Very good lawyer. Very good lawyer.
Yeah. And then I'd be on hand if someone got out of control.
Yes. And most often people got out of control.
Sure. But I don't think we had any. I don't remember too many times that I had to really step in.
No, you know what though? Phil often became
That's
heavy.
Very true. And then I would probably have to stop Phil from doing something really dumb in the heat of the moment. He's an emotional guy, that Phil Schaefer.
Yeah. And here's why I say this, because we have people in our house tonight. I'm recording. Andrea has colleagues upstairs right now. They're wonderful people. I was just out to dinner with them. But at the end, Andrea's like, what's everybody want to do? And they were like, well, we don't know. We're not from here. They're from out near Pittsburgh.
Gotcha.
And she was like, well, the night's still young. And I was like, well, I mean, they can come back. I offered it, right?
Yeah, right.
I offered it. I was like, we have some alcohol that they can partake in, and I'm going to record. So as long as that's not rude, they can, you guys can enjoy each other's company in the living room, and I'll come up when I'm done.
Right.
I mean, this is what it is. I didn't know that everybody would take me up on that.
That's one of those offers where you kind of maybe hope that 50% kind of say yes, and the other 50 are just kind of no, we couldn't impose. It's late,
There, one person said they couldn't impose.
Okay. Out of how many?
I think there were 6.
All right.
So,
all right.
Everybody else was like, well, what everybody else wants to do. Is it really? And Andrea's like, come on over. Yeah. As long as you don't mind the 60-pound Husky Lab and German Shepherd mix that meets you at the door, then you're good. Mind. No.
And my husband having to go downstairs in the basement to talk to his college friend
about Philly sports for an hour.
Right.
And you know what? 70 people will listen to this.
That's right.
Shut up,
when
everybody.
you go upstairs, you're gonna have to get them to listen.
Yeah, they're like all Pittsburgh fans.
All right. Well, they can hit subscribe and not listen ever. That's fine.
It's fine as long as they hit subscribe.
That's right. Whatever they can do to help.
Speaking of subscribe, what are you subscribing to? The Sixers playing Brooklyn as a 3 seed, or the Sixers playing the Heat as the 3 seed?
I really want it to be Brooklyn. Jimmy Butler scares the bejesus out of me.
And Spoelstra.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know Brooklyn can just come at you with a bunch of young athletic guards who is usually the kryptonite for a Sixers team, but
we're far more talented.
Yes. But Jimmy Butler scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah. And and with 8 games to play, we're not eclipsing that 2.5 game lead or deficit that we face with Boston.
Right.
So it's going to be, and here's the thing, Brooklyn and Miami are tied.
I know. I just really don't want Miami.
So what I'd like to do real quickly, if you'll indulge me,
Of course.
is so Brooklyn is 2 full games behind the Nets. Miami's 2 full games behind the Nets. Let's see what their schedules look like here. Brooklyn plays the Rockets, the Hawks. So home against the Rockets and Hawks, home against the Jazz, home against the Timberwolves, in Detroit, home against the Magic, home against the Sixers, which you'd assume the Sixers are sitting people at that point. That's not a bad schedule.
Cupcake schedule.
That's a 5-3 probably.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great teams on that list.
6-2 maybe. All right, let's see what Miami has. Miami has in Toronto, in New York, home against Dallas, in Detroit, in Philly, in Washington, home against Orlando. A little bit more tough.
A little bit.
I mean, going to Toronto isn't easy. Going to Madison Square Garden isn't easy because the Knicks are still playing. They're only 2 games up, so they're going to have to win.
Dallas also.
Pistons should be a win.
Yeah.
Maybe they're 1-3 at that point.
Sixers again, probably not playing anybody.
But they probably want to beat Miami.
That is very true. You would probably want to beat them in order to make sure that you're playing Brooklyn.
Yeah, in that first round. And then Washington. I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like there's a 3-5 potential here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm sorry. 3 and 4. So I think schedule-wise, Brooklyn holds a little bit of an advantage, and they hold the tiebreaker.
Okay.
So they can finish tied and still be the team that the Sixers play. I do believe the Sixers beat the Nets. I struggle with them beating the Heat.
I think they can beat the Heat. It will just be a much tougher series.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Butler just goes off against
I know.
them.
That's the problem.
He turns
into the best player on the court.
And Spoelstra figures out the way to outcoach Doc every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And Bam Adebayo is very underrated.
Oh, he's very good. He's very good.
They have Kevin Lowry, they have Victor Oladipo coming off their bench. Tyler Hero starts for them. They're a good team, Regz.
Yeah, I don't want any piece of that.
They're a good team. So I think I'd much rather play a Brooklyn Nets team anchored by oh wait.
I was about to say, do we even know? Simmons out for the year, right?
Well, they have Bridges and Dinwiddie, who are really athletic.
Yeah, they are.
And would probably tear us apart on the perimeter. But I don't think they defend as well. And I'm sorry, Nick Claxton is not guarding Joel Embiid.
No.
He's just
Bam Adebayo would be a much tougher matchup for him than Nick Claxton.
And he's always been.
Yeah.
So I again, we're at the point in this season where the playoffs start in like 2 weeks.
I know, it's wild, isn't it?
And go ahead.
No, I was just saying I think we talked about this last show that it pops up on us.
Mm-hmm.
We're not ready for it, and then all of a sudden it's here.
I feel like we've said this a lot. We're gonna cover the Sixers. We're gonna get there. We never had a chance to get there.
We've been talking about them.
But we never got a chance to actually get there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's been going on.
We had a chance in the season prior because the Phillies were done.
Exactly.
The Eagles were a one and done. We didn't have a chance. And this year the Sixers are arguably the best they've been in a long time in terms of roster construction.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've had the best record in the NBA since November.
They're going to be a 3 seed, Regz.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. They've had the best record in the NBA since November. 3 seed is exactly where we expected them and hoped that they would be.
Right.
And they're there. And here we are like, oh yeah, remember the Sixers?
I feel like we were upfront about this. You know,
yeah, we were.
If we were to rank the priority, you know, of Philly sports, at least in these two podcasters' brains, you know, Sixers are unfortunately third. You know, shout out like my neighbor John, who I know listens, is a huge Sixers fan and constantly, you know, I text him sometimes about our Sixers takes to just ask if they're relevant because he actually goes to a bunch of games and like sees them in person. So every once in a while, he'll give me like, you know, in person, that's not really true. And I'm like, that's all right. Fair. Good feedback. But listen, the Phillies made the World Series and the Eagles made the Super Bowl. A lot of stuff was happening. So
it's hard. It's hard to be a 3-for-4 podcast.
Yeah.
When 2 of the 3 teams get to the final, to the pinnacle of their season.
Yeah.
And then the last team is there. You know, they're good, but it's their regular season. And here's what I will promise you. As the playoffs come around, even with Phillies baseball starting in the draft, as the Sixers go, we will go.
Yeah. We'll have previews, we'll have matchup talk, all that stuff. That is absolutely true.
And we'll do reaction pods and things like that.
Yep.
Like that, we're not gonna be ignorant toward the Sixers. We still love them.
Of course.
We just love them a little bit less than the Phillies and the Eagles.
Yeah, it's like ranking your children. You might have a ranking in your head, but it's really all the same. You know, relatively, it's really all the same.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Except the Flyers. Forget them. No one cares about the Flyers.
No. Well, people care. We're just not those people.
No.
Right.
And especially with how terrible they are.
Yeah.
If they were going on some monster run and like first in the East, we would talk about them. But
would we? I don't know anything about it. I feel
like we would have to touch on it just a little bit. We'd have to like call a hockey person. I know some hockey people.
All right. Well, I could get some hockey people on here too. It just wouldn't be relevant to like what we talk about every
That's
week.
Very true. It would be very out of left field.
But what would our questions be? Tell us about hockey.
Is icing still a thing? That makes no sense.
What is a puck?
Yeah. Does Fox still follow it with a red outline like they used to do on TV?
Does hockey still have the best video game of all the sports?
NHL like 2003 was a banger.
Yep. That's why I say it, Reg. Yep. That's why I say it.
I feel like this could be oh my God, this is such a tangent. I feel like we could do a whole sports video game podcast and just talk about like the 2000s to the 2005s.
If our teams weren't good, we would.
Right.
But our teams are all good.
We have stuff to talk about. Yeah.
It's hard to pass that up.
But like,
it's hard to pass that up.
There's some classics back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, from one to another, Regz. From one to another.
That's right.
Let's jump to the birds here.
Stuff's been happening.
It's been a busy week, man. Howie to me continues to do what I wanted him to do. I said I didn't expect a huge offseason, right? Like,
right.
I didn't expect him to break the bank. They just didn't have enough in terms of money to do so.
Yeah.
But he's done enough that like it's just not possible to be upset. All right, let's start here. Their number one priority was CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
CJ didn't like the number. CJ's agent thought he was going to get more in the market.
Yeah.
The Eagles said, well, dude, like, we're not going to wait. So we're going to bring back James Bradberry.
Mm-hmm.
They bring back Bradberry. They bring back Slay. CJ comes back and says, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get on the market. What can you do for me? This is all we got left. This is the money we have.
Right.
CJ doesn't like it. He goes and signs a one-year deal in Detroit. Then he's just playing victim.
Yeah, and his agency sends that tweet, right? with like a mic drop emoji. Like,
yeah.
Way to possibly handle it the worst possible.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for, Regz. Like, this is one of these situations where I don't feel badly for the guy.
Yeah. I think, man, Elliot said this so well on the Go Birds podcast with Seltzer. Like a couple weeks ago, whilst like CJGJ was still being talked about, and right after Bradbury and Slay had been signed. Because again, CJGJ was the biggest thing at that point.
Correct.
And he like sort of zagged. He was like, I'm not going to feel too bad if he's gone. He's like, I think this is a big, like, the fans love him because he tweets and he like is outspoken and does his Instagram lives and he's a sociable guy. Like, he puts stuff out there. So I think he made a great point that I think this is like the fan perception far outweighs what he's worth. And he said from the jump, like, I'm not going to be too upset if he doesn't re-sign.
And I know that I said I really wanted him, and I don't necessarily change.
I think both can be true.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's 100% right, Regz. Both can be true. I don't see him as a guy that I'm sitting here like devastated about not having.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm also, you know, he was part of a Super Bowl team. So it's hard to let go of that at the same time. It's a little easier letting go of it knowing that we have both corners back, all three corners back.
Yes, but I think we've said this in the past that the defensive backfield has always been a thing for the Eagles. When we've had really good ones, our Eagles teams have done really well. I know that's not like breaking, like that's not a ground shattering observation.
Right.
But it's been for some reason specifically important for this team and this franchise. In order to be successful, this is one of the things they have to have. And especially with today's passing game and how good quarterbacks are and how good passing games are. Right. Like they used, again, back in like Brian Urlacher's day, the middle linebacker used to be the most important person on the field for a defense. It really is your defensive backfield at the, this day and age. So Gardner Johnson was a good safety. It's never fun to lose a good player, right? But he wasn't some transcendent safety that if you let go for nothing, like the entire NFL world would be kind of taken aback. You know, some people liked it, some people didn't. We are where we are. We signed the two corners, which we probably needed more. And like, again, you could debate.
They'll draft there.
You could debate, but
they'll draft there.
It is what it is at this point.
Remember, they also signed Greedy Williams. We're going to talk about this in a second.
Right.
They did sign Greedy Williams, and they're going to draft defensive backs.
Yeah.
You know, and next year they have like 14 picks or whatever it is.
And look, and I think the one thing we can take away is that the franchise didn't overspend just to keep him based on fan sentiment.
Which is a Howie thing now.
Yes.
It was not a Howie thing in 2018.
That's exactly right.
And now it's a Howie thing.
That's exactly right.
And I appreciate that Howie has learned his lesson.
Yep.
And turned this into an experience that will benefit the team currently and benefit the team in the long term. Let's look at what they did do, because I think what they did do is improve the team on the margins. And sometimes that's where you need to be improved.
Yeah.
This is a really good roster, top to bottom. Still what I would consider to be a top 3 roster in the NFC.
I think that's a huge point, is that you have to take this in consideration of the conference they play in.
Yeah. And even so, like, what difference did CJGJ make in the Super Bowl? He made some tackles, right? And when I think about TJ Edwards got burned a couple of times on run plays.
Yeah.
Um,
I just don't. Looking back,
the defensive line didn't get home again.
Yeah.
Like we can go into all of that,
right.
but like, I think at the end of the day, this team is not going to be worse off roster wise than they were last year,
and
especially on the offensive side of the football.
Well, the offensive side is stacked. Like, that just is what it is. On the defensive side, we have a new coordinator coming in.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously saw that Gannon was not prepared to play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, to the extent that we could blame individual players, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You'll have to have smarter people, than myself about that. But you're right. No one made an impact play in the Super Bowl. But I just think this comes down to we offered him what we had. In the beginning, like he kind of said, I want to see what's out there. So he made a choice. The Eagles moved forward. And then the Eagles refused to get out over their skis, to follow, fan sentiment. And listen, I don't know if what they did is going to be better or worse than Gardner Johnson. We don't know yet. We got to see what happens. We have a new defensive coordinator and they're new players, but like we have to see what happens. But to your point, to your very good point, I'm very happy that nothing happened that to the detriment of the team, right. To the detriment of the future of this team. They made a very smart decision that didn't go over well with the fan base, but put them in a better spot financially for the long run.
Yeah. And let's talk about those finances.
Yeah.
So we know they signed Marcus Mariota to be a backup. I think, as much as I like Gardner Minshew, the offense changed when Minshew came because he couldn't run the same way. Marcus Mariota can run. So if something should happen where they need to sit Jalen for a game or two, Mariota, they don't have to change the offensive game plan for him.
It's certainly still a downgrade.
Yeah,
but you don't have right, sure. But you don't have to change your overall scheme.
Yeah.
Which I think, and you're 1,000% correct, that you couldn't do the same things with Gardner that you could with Jalen.
Right. We don't know the cap number yet.
No.
So I don't have a guarantee on him.
I think they just even made it official like a couple of days ago.
So we know the deal was $5 million, but we don't know how much of that is guaranteed money.
Right.
So that'll affect the cap. So the Rashad Penny deal was the 1-year deal, $600,000 guaranteed.
What a great number.
Great deal.
Jeez.
Great deal. I mean, it's the number that he just leaned on this whole free. Like this is the number you get. $600,000 guaranteed.
Yep.
With upside.
Yeah.
Because Greedy Williams, same thing. And Greedy is a depth corner.
Yeah.
So they have a couple of depth corners now.
Mm-hmm.
Good. You need that. And he's a versatile depth corner.
Yeah.
So he's a depth corner that they brought in. Let's do safety next. Justin Evans, depth safety, $600K. Guaranteed money.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a guy who's coming in and with a ton of numbers.
Right.
He's not. He's a depth safety. You need that.
Yep.
Especially because you lost 2 safeties.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So
certainly a need. Certainly a need.
So he's your third safety because you consider Reed Blank, unless they draft one, which is possible.
Sure.
It's possible. I keep seeing this Branch kid from Alabama being mocked to the Eagles. I'd be fine with that. Anybody who comes with the name Bama next to them,
right. It's worked out pretty well so far.
So he's a depth move. The starter that we know will absolutely get starting snaps because you got him in Pittsburgh. And if you get him in Pittsburgh, you're going to get him anywhere.
Yeah. Especially on defense.
Terrell Edmonds.
Right.
He's more of a box safety. He's downhill, which makes me think that we're going to see more in the box safety play this year and a lot more one-on-one with Bradbury and Slay.
Yeah.
He had 2 sacks and 41 tackles last year, solo tackles as a safety in Pittsburgh, where they're a little more aggressive defensively.
Yeah.
600K guaranteed, Regz.
Yeah. I mean,
there it is again.
Again, he was a day one starter for Pittsburgh. I think he played, 14, 15 games for them. Started 14 or 15 games for them.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin.
15 games. Yeah.
Mike Tomlin doesn't start schlubs
No.
generally.
No.
And you know that he got a great sort of defensive education there.
And you know the last defender that we signed from Pittsburgh?
Oh man, that's a great question. I'm never going to get it in the time we have. I'd have to sit here in silence for a minute.
Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And he turned out okay.
Yeah, he did. He just made a boatload of money.
Yeah. Against the team who I think is the second best roster in the NFC. So.
I know.
All right, and then I think my favorite signing.
Okay.
Nicholas Moreau.
Okay.
Linebacker.
Yep.
83 solo tackles last season.
Yeah. That's
in the linebacker position. 17th in the NFL, Regz.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? 33 assists.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Again, Nakobe Dean's going to play. You obviously needed someone.
But you have to have two.
No, exactly. You had to have someone next to him.
Because if your base is going to be nickel.
Right.
You got to have two. Here's the best part. How much guaranteed money do you think is on his contract?
I'm going to guess it starts with the 6.
It doesn't. It's zero.
Oh,
$0 guaranteed. I don't know how you even do that, right?
How do you do that? Isn't that illegal?
This dude has no money guaranteed on his deal.
It's all just incentive based. Talk about betting on yourself, huh?
And I'll take a guy betting on himself.
Well, I think that's the
especially
overall,
a guy 17th overall in tackles in the NFL.
I feel like that's the overall theme of these signings is that these are a lot of guys that are kind of trying to bet on themselves.
Yes.
To show that they still have it. Like the Greedy Williams thing, plagued by injuries. What was he, a second round pick, right? At LSU?
Second round pick. Yep.
That's still a pretty high pick for a corner.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy that obviously comes from the SEC where, again, there's not a lot of bad players coming out of that group. So a guy who's trying to prove himself.
Yeah.
Same with what you just said about the safety from Pittsburgh. Again, played well, started on Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh wasn't a great team. Correct. So now he comes over to the Super Bowl contender from the NFC to prove himself. Rashard Penny, injury plagued, coming to a place that if he proves himself, he can go make a lot more money next season.
Yep.
And, by his own account, he says he's healthy from his past knee injury, all those things. Again, we know he's injury prone, but so do the Eagles. These are all things that they know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then, and I think something to think about before we move on is the draft stock that the Eagles have here coming up. This year, first round pick, second round pick, third round pick, seventh round, right? I don't know that they make 2 first round picks.
You think the second one's gone?
I think they trade back one of them.
I kind of like them being at 10. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it depends on what's there.
Sure, of course it does.
Because if you don't get one of the edge guys you want, because now edge and tackle is really where your focus is. You don't need a corner.
Yeah.
There's not a top 10 safety.
Right.
So you can move out of 10 if there's not a lineman you like there. Unless there's a tackle that drops.
Yeah.
An offensive tackle that you can say, all right, you're the lane replacement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't have to make a pick there. I understand that 10 is great. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if a quarterback drops and
someone's gonna want that, right?
And a team wants to move up to get an Anthony Richardson,
yeah,
then you let them come up and you stockpile day 2 picks.
Yeah.
or a day 2 and multiple day 3s, because if you get a team from like the Redskins, an in-division rival who doesn't really have a solution at quarterback, Sam Howell is not it. I like the kid. I think he's gritty as hell, but he's not an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. The Commanders, for anyone wondering who they used to be
Thank you.
called.
Sorry. I apologize.
It's okay.
But like, that's a team that I could see trying to come up.
Sure.
Especially in division, you can rob them blind.
Yeah.
And they're not the only team. They're not the only team in the middle of the pack. You got like the Lions. They have Jared Goff. He's not the future of the organization.
And they've been retooling a bunch, so they'd be keen
CJGJ.
You know.
So before we move on, I mentioned him. I know we're gonna search his replacement, but Lane Johnson continues the show. Why is a Philadelphia guy through and through? The extension gave them $10 million in cap space this year.
Yeah.
Again, he makes money off of it, so I don't want to make him appear to be.
He's not a saint, right?
Right. He's making a ton of money.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like, he knows the window.
Yeah.
And he's probably not going to play in those years that those dummy years that he's making the money.
Yeah.
He knows that the time to win is now.
Yeah.
So he can make his money now, or he could kick him down the road in dummy years, which is what he basically did.
Yeah.
Lane is not just a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the all-time great Eagles.
He's going he's going in the ring of like the whatever that is.
Ring of Honor. We have been very fortunate from our college years until these years, right? These adult years, to experience some of the greatest Eagles of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about Brian Dawkins, right? But I mean being drafted during our college years. Brandon Graham. Fletcher Cox. Like, I know Malcolm wasn't drafted by us, but he was a big part of the success that we had. Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz, like these names of guys. What's that?
Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey. Right. These names of guys that have become mainstays. And not just important to the success of the team, but important to the city. Guys who have become important to the city, and Lane Johnson is one of those. And honestly, Regz, like, when you think about them, he's probably one of the ones that gets like underappreciated, because he had that run in with the performance enhancing stuff,
right,
and got suspended. He's been injured.
Yep.
Like, Lane is not, in my eyes, unfortunately, as beloved as Brandon Graham, as beloved as Jason Kelsey, as beloved as Fletcher Cox. He's still loved, and even like the mental health stuff that he dealt with.
Yeah.
I feel like Lane Johnson has just been this guy we take for granted. I think all of them are guys we take for granted. Like, we just appreciate the fact that they exist, and they're going to be gone at some point. We're going to be like, where'd they go?
Yeah. Well, that's going to be a reality slap in the face when we don't see a Kelsey and a Lane Johnson
on the offensive line.
Right. And a BG and a Fletcher Cox on the defensive line. Like, it's all going to happen. You know, it's one of those things that you had to accept, almost like the Jimmy and Chase and Howard kind of stuff, and Cole Hamels and all that.
Which is why, like, I think it's more important than to appreciate them now, right? And the Eagles drafted Cam Jurgens to be the replacement for Jason Kelsey. And they can do the same thing with Lane this year if they find the right guy. Because clearly they're banking on next year's draft to be the draft.
Yeah.
They have so many picks next year.
Yeah.
First round pick, 2 seconds, 2/3. I think they have multiple 4s. They have multiple 5ths. They have like 3 5ths next year. Like, and they can use one of those first round picks to trade for a pick next year too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a ton of things that they can do this year. They're still going to be able to compete this year because the NFC is so weak.
Right. And their offense is so good.
Yeah. And the defense is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Is it going to be as good as next year? Probably
No,
not.
But
Especially because they're going to be playing some really good offenses this year.
yeah.
But when push comes to shove in this situation, they're set up because they draft capital wise. Next year, they are freaking loaded.
Yeah.
So they could end up being the 2 seed this year and still have 14 picks next year.
Right. Yeah.
And remake the entire roster, which is really important when you're going to have a quarterback making $40 million.
Right.
So they're in a good place. Howie really set them up, man.
Yeah, I think ultimately we can be appreciative that they're in a much better spot than I think than I expected them to be, quite honestly. I didn't think there was a chance we had both corners back. Not a chance.
We expected Chauncey back. That's why.
Right, but that's what I mean. That means that there's one of either. I even thought there was a chance we don't have either of them.
Oh, there was a point where we thought that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I think Howie's kept a level head on his shoulders. He's understood. He's learned from his past mistakes.
Yeah.
Guys have helped him take team-friendly deals to keep a couple veterans. And the entire organization seems to be in the right headspace.
Yes.
And I think very much like the Phillies, they're hungry to get back to a World Series and get the job done.
Yeah. They want to get back to that title game.
Exactly.
No doubt about it. Any of those free agents that you're excited about more than the others? I have one that I'm really excited about, but I just wanted to check and see what
I'm excited for a Pittsburgh guy to come over.
Yeah.
And see how he performs. You have to give so much respect to Mike Tomlin and how he handles his team and his defense. That to get a guy who was a mainstay starter for them. Again, they're not in the heyday of Pittsburgh defense. But if Mike Tomlin sees something in a guy that he's starting him for 90% of the season, there's something there. Yeah. There's teachable skills that can be helpful to you in an NFL game. And I think to get a guy like that at a position of need, I'm excited to see how he does.
So I think the easy answer is Rashad Penny, but I'm not going to say him. I'm going to say the guy who decided that signing a contract was $0 guaranteed dollars. Nicholas Moreau, you have all my respect.
What a badass, right?
I'm going to sign a contract for $0 guaranteed dollars.
All incentives. Yeah.
A dude who truly believes in himself.
Right. Yeah.
I'm all in on that guy.
We'll just combine that. I just thought of this, but combine that with a guy like Nakobe Dean, who's coming off an injury.
And don't forget Sean Bradley.
Right. Who everyone thought, right, I'm not going to take this guy. He got hurt. Not worth it. But was on a national championship winning defense.
Right.
This guy is not a schlub.
Right.
I just can't wait to see him get a bunch of snaps and really see how he performs.
Same. All right. Regz. It's opening day week, baby.
I know. Is it bad that I'm so excited yet so unhappy at the same time? Can I be both of those things?
Yeah, we're going to talk.
I'm kind of burying the lead here, but
let's start here.
Okay.
The World Baseball Classic. We just need to pause.
We do have to talk about this.
We have to appreciate this. It was some of the coolest baseball I've ever watched. And Regz, I watch a lot of baseball.
Yeah, likewise.
An excessive amount of baseball. On Thursday, I'm truly the Phillies play at 4, right? But I'm considering taking the entire day off to watch baseball.
I will literally be sitting here. My work monitor is on my left.
Yeah.
This monitor and the one to my right will just be full of baseball games.
Well, I think what I'm going to do is just watch it on the iPad.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
But I need to appreciate the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Just for a second. It was incredible drama.
Yeah.
Incredible theater, start to finish.
Really good.
And we don't have to spend a ton of time here, but we were texting during the finals, and I said to you that there might not be a greater moment in baseball this year, maybe ever, than Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, 1-run game, tying run,
2 outs,
3-2. Was it 3-2? I think it was 3-2.
Yeah, it was.
It was 3-2.
No, it was 3-2.
9th inning. Like, what? There's never going to be anything like that again.
Yeah.
Like, you can't match that. You can't match two teammates who are arguably two of the most like, they are two of the greatest players of all time. I don't care what anybody says.
No, yeah.
Like, no one does what these two do on a day in, day out basis. And especially Shohei Ohtani. Like, this is a guy, Regz, that I know will never sign in Philadelphia. I know we won't. But don't think for a second that when I saw, and we're going to talk about this, Aaron Nola and the Phillies were breaking contract talks yesterday. Don't think for a second that Shohei Ohtani did not run through my mind.
He has to. We text this, and I literally went to my son's baseball practice the next day and talked to the dads, like, while we were sitting there watching the practice, about this. I think we are at the point that he is the greatest baseball player that's ever lived.
Oh, I don't know how you argue
in
it.
terms of talent.
In terms of everything.
He's the greatest baseball player who's ever walked the earth.
And I know we're gonna have Yankee fans who scream Babe Ruth. No.
Babe Ruth did it for 2 seasons.
Yeah. No. And he didn't do it in this.
Yeah.
He didn't do it in this era.
In this level of talent, and
he didn't do it in this era.
Exactly.
I understand he was the first guy to do it, right? Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But what Shohei Ohtani does against this era of baseball,
it's
these guys who hit.
Right.
I mean, he made Mike Trout look
foolish. That slider was a strike until it was this far away from the plate.
And then Regz, you know what? Whatever, I'll go and hit, and no one wants to pitch to me.
Right.
And then I'll hit a ground ball, and I'll run like freaking Trey Turner.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, there's no one like him.
No.
On the planet.
No.
And he's gonna probably be a Met. And that's gonna
hurt.
It's gonna crush my soul.
That's literally what I was about to say. Is that's gonna hurt my soul.
It is gonna crush my soul.
Can he just go be a Yankee?
No, I don't want him to do that either.
I know I don't, but I wanted to do him less. I wanted to do him more than being a Met. I don't want him to be a Met.
What would be ideal is if John Middleton would be like, I'm gonna sign Shohei Ohtani. Like, I need Jack Middleton. I don't need John. I need Jack.
Right.
Speaking of Jacks, congratulations, Jack.
That's right, Jack. Congrats on the baby boy. Walker, I believe is his name.
Walker is the name. Yep. That's fantastic.
Way to get it in before opening day, bud. Good job by you.
Classic Jack.
Good job by you.
Born at 6:07.
Exactly. In the Fritz at 6. Yep.
That's
right.
All right. So let's talk about the sad stuff. You want to go Rhys or Knowles?
I guess Rhys.
I think we go Knowles. Let's go Knowles.
Let's go Knowles. Fine.
So I don't know. And the reason I start here is because I don't know if it's the worst case scenario.
It's not. I don't think it is. You and I started texting about this as soon as the news came out. Shout out, to who sort of broke the news.
Yeah.
The one and only.
The one and only.
Which we'll get to a little later.
Yeah, the one and only.
Tease. I think a lot of fans it didn't help that it came on the day he started against the Yankees and didn't look good. So that's not great. Again, that's why I literally tweeted, I will not overreact to spring season. I will not overreact to spring season.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
to spring training.
Your repeat. It made me happy.
Aaron put his own deadline on these talks. If he was going to talk up until opening day, and that was going to be it. I think his agents and Aaron are doing what's best for his agents and Aaron. He's asking for a lot of money, which I think is warranted. But he's also 30 years old. Despite his workhorsedness, he hasn't been the greatest pitcher all the time. I'm not saying he's a consistently bad pitcher, because he's certainly not. Last season, he was great. Really, really great. I can understand it from both sides. Am I upset that it didn't happen? Yes. I don't want to go into the season with that sort of vibe. Do I think having Painter and Abel on the back end influenced the Phillies' decision? Yes. Am I hopeful that it gets worked out? I hope it gets worked out at a good number. Like, it's something that's not crazy, because I certainly don't think, despite the Phillies signings and all those things, like, they have to have some sort of flexibility to be able to do some stuff. And they're not trying to be, despite what they've spent already, they're not trying to be the Mets and the Padres. Like, I get it that Middleton is spent and that ownership group is spent. I don't think they're trying to get to the point of like a Cohen and the Padres guys. They're just not. Like, that's the absurd level. We're at the kind of crazy level the Phillies are. And I think there's a difference in those levels. So I don't want it to cast a shadow over the season. I'm curious to get your opinion on this. I think Aaron has proven himself to be a guy that he wants to be in Philadelphia. He has too much respect for this team and the people around him that I don't think it lets him affect his performance. But sometimes that stuff just like pops up subconsciously. Like, it's we've seen it happen a million times in sports. So I don't know I'd love to know your opinion about that and sort of what you thought when you first saw the tweets in the news.
Yeah, I need Aaron Nola back.
That's a perfectly reasonable and fair thought.
And I'll explain why. And I don't need a lot of time to really get to the bottom of why. Let me ask you a couple of questions. What's the most frustrating thing about a pitcher, in your opinion? Like, the thing that bothers you most about a pitcher is a ton of talent.
Like, not being out there to pitch.
Right. And we see that so often with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're dealing with it right now. We have like Ranger Suarez can't start the first week of the season.
But again,
Andrew Painter is hurt at 19 years old. Like, Jacob deGrom every year.
The Yankees have 3 starters on the IL.
Correct.
Yeah. The Braves, what's his name? Braves is going to be on the IL to start the season.
I don't know which one. Is it Fried?
I'm gonna look it up right now. Hold on.
Strider.
Keep talking. It's not Strider.
All right. Soroka. I don't know.
It might be Fried. I'll look it up.
But here's why Aaron Nola matters so much to me. I never have a question of whether or not Aaron Nola's taking the ball.
Yeah. Kyle Wright. Sorry.
Kyle Wright. Okay. The best form of ability is availability.
Yeah.
And Aaron Nola is available every freaking 5th day. It just doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
And his form of availability, coupled with his ability, is really good. I understand he's not an ace. Like, I know that. I get it. But if I have my druthers on whether or not Aaron Nola's starting game 2 for me in a NLCS or World Series versus right now, that I don't know what option we have.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have another option. And I know we have Mick Abel, and I know we have Griff McGarry in the minors, and I know we have Andrew Painter, who's should probably just be getting Tommy John right now. Like, I know all of that. I get it. I understand it. But I don't know that these dudes are going to be able to go every fifth day for the next 5 years. Aaron Nola goes every fifth day. I never wonder if he's going to take the ball, ever. And Regz, I don't know the last guy that I thought that with.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many.
No,
there's not many.
No, you're absolutely right.
So, like, I'm not mad that they didn't get the job done. They didn't get the deal done now. I'm not mad about that. I'm not. Because I kind of figured it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. You always start this far apart. Like when you're talking about.
And I do believe it will.
Yeah.
This reminds me a lot of JT Real Muto. It is very, I will say this. If he has a great season, which I do anticipate he does, it's going to be hard.
It is
to bring him back.
You're exactly right.
Because it's basically Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Nola next year.
Oh yeah.
And if you're listening and not watching, my hands are very far apart.
Yeah. But Aaron Nola is the best, is like the pure pitcher option.
And there's nobody between them.
No, yeah.
So if we don't bring him back, I don't know what we've got.
Yeah.
Because we're basically banking on two really good arms. And then question marks in terms of their ability to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I the one thing that I've always appreciated about Aaron Nola, as much as he's been frustrating on a start-to-start basis, is that I know I'm going to get 4 innings out of Aaron Nola every fifth day, minimum. And then there are days I'm going to get 7, and they're going to be freaking dominant. I can't watch him walk away. I don't know what I'll do. We got playoff Nola this year, and there were times it was really frustrating. There was times it was really good. But Aaron Nola, to me, is like Rhys Hoskins 2.0. He's the guy. I can't, if I watch them both go in the same year, Regz, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna respond because both of these guys have meant so much to me as a Philly fan during really bad years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really bad years. I've always been able to lean on those two guys, which leads us to Rhys Hoskins.
Sucks.
Regz, I don't know that I've ever experienced an injury that broke me as much as Rhys Hoskins in terms of baseball. I don't know that there's a player that I've been more hurt for than Rhys Hoskins. Like, I'm actually getting emotional talking about
I know, I can hear it.
I don't think that there's a player in Philly sports that I wanted to win a title aside from Joel Embiid as much as Rhys Hoskins. This guy has not only been through it in terms of the teams that he's played with, the struggles he's gone through, but when I think about this past postseason and the people that were on him and blamed him and just misnomered him from the sense of like he's the problem.
Right.
And now he doesn't get to play his last year in Philly because he's not coming back, Regz.
That's the part.
He's
that
not
sucks.
coming. I mean, I'll say this. It might be more likely that he comes back now than it was before the injury because
I think you're 1,000% right. Because who's going to take a risk on like a streaky first baseman who can't field off an ACL injury?
Right.
It certainly lowers his market value.
A team who really needs a DH, which now there are 30 of them and not just,
but still,
or 32 of them and not just, but it hurts, man. Like, you hear these guys talk this week in the clubhouse about how he's the leader. He's Mr. Philly. Like, we don't, the vibes are just low. Like,
I know.
The Nola thing's one thing because I think everybody understands it's a business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think players see that as detrimental to the roster, to the makeup, to the clubhouse. What they do see is the guy that they lean on not being there.
Yeah.
And Regz, I think we know ACL injuries, like things have come a long way in that regard. Once he has a surgery, he's going to be there more often than not.
Right. He'll still be in the clubhouse and around people. He's not like gone from the planet.
No, but not being on the field matters.
Yeah, I watched this happen live. I was watching the game.
I did not know that.
On my computer when it happened. And it was one of those things that if you've watched enough sports, and I'm sure all of our listeners could attest to this, that when you see someone grab their knee when they're not being near anyone, when nothing else sort of has affected what they're doing,
never a doubt,
your heart like drops to your stomach.
Never a doubt.
And then to see his reaction, sort of like the pain that you know he was in, but it's more so like it's more so the sadness that was in. He was wearing sunglasses, so you can't say in his eyes, but you could just see it in his face, like the emotion of what he sort of knew had happened. And it was just like, I went back and I've watched that play 25 times. And if he just handles it on the first hop, right, this doesn't happen.
Yep.
It was the most benign turn and cleat catch you'll ever see. It's not like he got twisted around and his foot was stuck so badly that like his leg went one direction and his body went another, where you're just like, okay, his knee is gone. Like it exploded. This was the most banal twist of a knee you'll ever see. And then it was like when he couldn't walk off and he had to get on the cart, and you saw everyone come to him. Every teammate on the field came over. You were just like, you got to be kidding me. And every day since then, and I think I even tweeted this, I was like, I hate that I have to wake up and rewatch the Rhys thing every day on Twitter, because someone's tweeting about it. Someone's like putting the video out there again. Someone's writing an article about it. I'm with you, man. I'm just like, and I think I texted this to you. Like, this just can't be how Rhys goes out. This is not what that guy deserves. It's not what he deserves. It's not what this man deserves to go out of Philly this way. And it not only sucks, like you said, from a lineup perspective, to lose sort of a known entity. Say what you will about Rhys Hoskins' streakiness. Yes, he's a streaky hitter. Could he carry a team for a month? Yes. Could he go 2 for 20 in a World Series? Also, yes. Like, yes, we know those same things can happen. But you'd rather have that guy on the team than Derek Hall, who we don't know if he can actually play Major League Baseball for as long as Rhys Hoskins has.
You'd also like to have the guy on the team who, has control in the clubhouse.
Yeah. And again, I think luckily he will still be around. He will still be a presence on this team, in the locker room, on the bench. Like, I expect to see him out there cheering everybody on. This is not like a Lamar Jackson situation where he's not going to show up to like some playoff games. You know what I mean? This is not the same situation we're talking about. Rhys will be around. But again, it's not the same when he's not on the field. It was just an unbelievably devastating moment to see happen in real time. And then Topper came on later in the game and said, oh, like they saw him walking around in the locker room, and then you got a little bit of hope. And then it was like the next hour that it was like, yeah, the MRI confirmed an ACL tear. And it was just like, oh,
yeah, it was
And then like his wife tweets the broken heart emoji, and you're just like, oh my God, like I can't take this. Like my heart can't take this kind of stuff.
I never for a second thought that it was anything but a torn ACL.
I had to hold out hope for a little bit, but you're right.
Like my father walked with a torn ACL
I know.
for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like Carson Wentz walked off the field.
That's
with
what
a
I
torn
mean.
ACL.
Our buddy Fairbanks tore his ACL and walked off the court.
And walked off the court.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I knew. Like I just knew. You know, like
I don't keep going.
I think for me, people are really gonna. People who didn't appreciate Rhys are gonna be like, "Oh shit, I should appreciate Rhys."
You've been on this corner for a year.
More than that.
I mean, more than that, but like I'm talking about podcast wise. Like you've been on this Rhys corner since the beginning.
I get the guy is frustrating to watch from time to time. Like Regz, like I get it. I've played this sport since I was 5. Like there are guys who frustrate you. There are guys who you never worry about, right? Like Pat Burrell was one of those guys who you'd get so frustrated with, but would go on a tear for a month and a half, and you'd be like, "There's Pat Burrell."
Yep.
Like Ryan Howard was that guy. Ryan Howard was on a Ruthian run for a while. And then he'd go in a big slump, but then he'd take you for a month. Septembers with Ryan Howard were like the greatest flights that you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
Rhys Hoskins did more for this team than casuals will ever give him credit for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there were months where Bryce was hurt and JT was in the shitter.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick was
Segura was out
for getting out of hit.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, I actually think without all of that happening, and I even think Kyle was struggling, Rhys was the guy. We don't have that now. And I know people want to think that Derek Hall is going to be this guy. I'm not a believer. I'm not. I'm not. And I think he's going to hit against righties and he's going to sit against lefties. And Rhys didn't have to sit against righties.
Yeah.
Rhys hit possibly the biggest home run against a righty all of last year when he hit that bomb off a Strider at the game you were at.
Also, yep, I was about to say also there for that.
And I struggle with this idea of like, oh, well, let's bring in Luke Voigt. Well, look at Luke Voigt's freaking splits. The guy can't hit left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
Can't left-handed pitching. I don't want him on my team just because he's righty.
Right.
I certainly don't want that 4 buttons undone look that he does. Unless he's going to convince Nick to do it, then I'm good with it.
Yeah, we established this.
And end of the day, this is crucial to the Phillies.
Yeah,
like
it was devastating.
I don't know that I've ever like felt my body language change as much as it did when I saw this, because I love Rhys the person.
Yeah,
I love Rhys the player, and there's part of me that's like, all right, here you go, guys. You bitched and moaned about Rhys Hoskins for years. Enjoy the replacement, because it's not going to be good defensively and it's not going to be good offensively. Enjoy. I hope you guys have fun, because Derek Hall is not an upgrade in either of those places.
No,
He's not. And you know what? If he is, I will come on the show and apologize immediately. But I'm going to need it to be for more than a month of the season. And I'm going to need it to be against left-handed pitching too. Because here's what I can tell you will happen. When you've got guys like Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos coming to the manager and saying, I want to take ground balls at first base kind of tells you how they feel about the replacement that's taking over at first base. These guys know baseball more than they forget more baseball than we will ever know.
Yeah.
So that Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper have already started taking ground balls kind of tells you how they feel about the guy who's replacing Rhys Hoskins. It just does, Regz. It does. I think until they figure out what they're going to do, we're going to see a lot of Derek Hall against righties, Alec Boehm against lefties, with Mundo Sosa playing third base. And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. But they're going to have to figure out first base. And we talked about this on a show a couple weeks ago where we said, well, what's the replacement for Rhys Hoskins? And there was none.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're experiencing that far too early.
We asked Brian about it, right? What's in the pipeline for this?
And he was like, guys, there's nothing. We're going to have to figure it out next year.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'll ask you this, and then we'll move on. Who's like Nick or Bryce? Like, unless Derek comes on and turns into Ryan Howard 2.0,
I'd rather have Bryce Harper. I'd rather have Bryce Harper in right field.
Yeah, I think so too, but I think early we're going to see Bryce at first.
Well, yes, because he doesn't have to make the throws. Like, obviously, that comes into account here. JT could also play first, but he's still the best catcher defensively in baseball.
And you can't Garrett Stubbs can't be playing every day.
Exactly. No, absolutely right. But I think I'd rather see Bryce Harper in right field. I think he's a better outfielder than Castellanos.
Bryce, though, was a former catcher. He's got good hands. Yeah,
listen, I'm not saying it can't happen. And I think to like sort of move into something different in his career, it's an option. But I think I'd rather see Bryce in the outfield.
Yeah, and I think we will. I just think it might be a little later.
No, I think you're absolutely. Yeah, we have to take into account that the fact that he just had Tommy John and can't throw.
Yeah. All right. Phixated or announcement?
Phixated first, then announcement.
Okay. We're about to get into April. You know what April means to me, Regz?
I already know what you're going to talk about, so I'm not going to answer this question.
Well, I mean, your
baseball's
answer
happening.
Baseball
starts.
That's
real baseball. Real baseball.
And I'm excited about that. I mean, Thursday's opening day.
But
Regz, it means tour season in Hershey. and I want to acknowledge the fact that like I'm lucky to live in this place. It's a great place to live. It really is. Tremendous people. I feel safe. Like it is there. Like I can sit on my deck and listen to concerts. Like it is a great place to live. But if you're a tourist coming to Hershey, please, don't bother me. Like, don't bother me when I'm at the grocery store. Don't bother me when I'm at the outlets. Don't bother me when don't cause traffic. Like I have 2 lanes to get in and out. Don't make it hard. Like if I'm a Giant and you come up to me and ask, how do I get to the Giant Center? All I want to do is take your phone out and type in Giant Center. If you're at the outlets and you say, where's the best place to go eat? I want to open Yelp on your phone. Like if you're coming to Hershey, please do your research ahead of time. I'm a nice guy. I'm a really nice guy. Regz will tell you this.
It's very true.
I'm a very nice person. But I don't want to plan your vacation for you. That's not my goal in life. If I wanted to plan your vacation, what would I do, Regz?
Be a travel agent.
I'd be a travel agent.
You'd be a great travel agent.
I feel like, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't want to do it.
I agree, but if you wanted to, you'd be a great travel agent.
Here's the thing. If I want to go to a concert, I'm going to go to a concert and I don't want you to ask me where to park your car.
So there's lots of signs.
like there are a lot of those. I don't want to tell you the best places to eat because I'm going to go there and I don't want to wait because you and your friends are all there. Because I live here and I want to go to the places that I enjoy. So I'm going to lie to you. If you ask me the best place to eat, I'm going to say Red Robin.
I was literally thinking that.
So that I can go to Houlihan's or Rubber Soul, or I can go to there are a bunch of places that I would go. But I'm not going to tell you. I named two of them, and then I thought to myself, I'm not going to say anymore because I give them to you. I want you to come because I think it's great for the town, but I want you to come prepared. Don't bother me. Don't bother me. And if you see me now, you're gonna be like, "Oh, there's that asshole from the podcast I listen to." I'm not gonna talk to him because he's not gonna listen.
You can write to me. I'm up there all the time.
Regz, and I know I sound like it. I sound like a complete ass. I get it. I do. But I live in a tourist town, and I should accept that.
Hey, it's okay.
But I deal with it all, from the end of March.
Yeah.
Until October.
Yeah.
There's just people everywhere.
Yeah.
And people ask me questions all of the time. And I'm like, are you here on vacation? Yeah. Then figure it out before you get here.
How do they pick you out as someone who lives here?
Oh, I think it's just I just appear natural in the place that
I
I'm
gotcha.
in.
Okay.
I don't look confused. Most times
right.
It's when I'm at Giant.
Yeah.
Or if I'm at the outlets, I'm moving in and out of places.
Yeah. You know what's going on.
Or if you're wearing a local thing.
Yeah.
If I have a Trogue shirt on, or if I'm wearing and again, maybe I need to be more cognizant of what I wear out, right?
Maybe that's it.
Maybe that's what it is. If I wear this out, people won't know.
I was about to say, just wear a Philly shirt. No one will know the difference.
No, I've worn Philly shirts and people ask me.
Well, that seems stupid.
Yeah, and I could lie because sometimes people say to me, "Oh, are you from here?" And I say yes. And
see, yeah.
You don't process fast.
The niceness kicks in, before you can.
You don't
realize.
lie. I can't lie that fast.
Right.
I can't lie that fast. So I'm going to have to start lying that
Listen,
fast,
just for me who visits frequently over the summer, don't go to Trogues because I don't want to see you in the lines. Don't make my lines longer. Go somewhere else.
Don't go to Rubber Soul either.
Yeah. I still need to get there. You and I still need to get there together.
And don't go to Englewood.
Yeah.
Don't go to any of the breweries I like. When I'm there. You can go there without me.
You and I need to go there.
To Rubber Soul.
At all of the places.
I was at Rubber Soul tonight.
I need to go there.
And I was at Englewood last week.
Trogues is my happy place.
Well, we can go to all three.
Yeah, that sounds great.
After we go buy me new clubs.
Yep, exactly.
And then Andrea can pick us up.
I love that.
And if anybody asks us where to go, I quit.
No habla inglés.
Moral of the story, guys. I just need to tell you, I appreciate you coming to Hershey, PA. I love that you come to Hershey, PA. But what I need you to know is if you see this face, please do not ask me where to go because I'm going to have a hard time.
Just ask him about baseball.
Ask me about baseball. I'll talk to you about that. All right, guys, real quickly before we go, quick announcement. Do you want to make this announcement? I feel like you should make this announcement.
Keep going.
No? You want me to do it?
Yeah.
I feel like it's more your announcement than mine.
Why?
It's your girl.
I mean, it's our.
It is our.
She's very much a podcast absolute day one
favorite.
But people.
Yeah.
Our episode. All right, go ahead.
What episode will it be?
This tonight we are recording
85.
Episode number 86. This is 86 that we're recording right now. So episode 87.
So 87, huh?
Episode 87, our Phillies season preview will feature none other than the absolute greatness of Alex Coffey.
It is It is truly phenomenal.
It continues to baffle me that these people continue to say yes. And then not only say yes, but be the most gracious, like unbelievable people.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were supposed to record with Alex tomorrow, like late afternoon, and her flight got delayed.
Yeah.
So she reached out to Regz and was like, I'm really, 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 really sorry that I can't do this tomorrow when we planned. Like, is there another time? And Regz and I talked about this before the show. Like, why are you apologizing?
Right. Don't apologize to us.
Like, we have like 70 listeners, maybe
the
100
fact
listeners.
That she
max.
said in our first, again, if you haven't seen it on Twitter, we put a video out.
Yeah.
Specifically speaking to Alex.
Yeah.
Noting that
she was so gracious.
Since her first tweet that she ever sent out about the Phillies, I told Azzy, you need to like follow.
Yeah.
And we've been on it since day one.
She's been awesome. Yeah,
so
for sure.
I first off can't believe that she responded saying I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Again, that she's been so gracious, like with her time and working with us to figure out a time to do it. And then it's like a pinch me moment that I can't believe we're getting like a beat writer for a major Philadelphia newspaper to be on our podcast.
It's going to be an exciting day for us. So we'll have her on here in the next couple of days. We'll release that episode
Wednesday,
more than likely
day.
Wednesday, like afternoon, morning, afternoon.
Yeah.
For you guys to preview for opening day. And then we will have a show on Thursday night after opening day.
That's right.
So you'll get kind of a
double whammy next week.
Double whammy, which will take us to what? Episode 88.
That's right.
We're 12 away from
the in-person.
I wonder if we can line it up for May 7th when you're here for the golf tournament.
Ooh. Yeah, we just got to see how it works out. If there's things we got to react to, like
the Sixers playoffs.
That's right. It did need to be a little bit accelerated in order to get there.
Could have been.
I don't know. We don't know. People, just stay tuned.
Could have been.
But
so
we have Alex Coffey coming on the episode, like to preview the Philly season for us. Like it's unbelievable.
It's a big deal.
It's unbelievable.
And if you're not following her, please do.
It's literally the greatest follow that you can have for Phillies baseball.
She's incredible. So we
cannot wait to talk to her. Cannot wait.
Yeah, we're very excited. We're gonna plan our episode here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
All right, but otherwise, guys, make sure you click subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. You can do that right below. If you are an Instagram user, at B&B Pod, you can do that on Twitter. You can also do at the Phixated Pod on Twitter. You can do at Mic Drop 5. Sorry, I lost track of what my Twitter handle was.
Forget what your Twitter handle was?
At the Mic Drop 5 on Twitter. You can do at Big Regz with a Z on Twitter. You can do at on the Phixated page on Facebook as well. It's been a while since we've done an episode. I'm like,
it feels like a long time, hasn't it been?
Yeah. It's been a while. And then you can search the merchandise by clicking the link in the description for the show below. So we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back with Alex on Wednesday evening, and then we'll be back on Wednesday morning.
Yep.
And then we'll be back on Thursday
night
evening.
Yep. Reacting opening day.
Respond to Jacob deGrom against Aaron Nola in Texas. Real quickly, Major League Baseball should have been my Phixated tonight, but I'm just a moment. If we were in Philly, I get having the off day on Friday.
Oh yeah,
because potential for rain.
Right.
You have a retractable roof in
why are we bothering
Texas?
With this?
Why aren't we playing a 4-game series and just
who knows?
What are we doing?
Doesn't make any sense.
Figure it out. Anyway. All right, guys. Well, hey, we hope you have a great evening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And we hope that you'll tune back in for the Alex Coffey episode on Wednesday morning.
Don't you dare miss that one. Don't dare.
Don't, because I feel like she's going to run circles around us.
She is, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm going to listen to it 300 times.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Be good. Be kind to someone. And we will see you on Wednesday. It's time to say it again. Go Phils.
Appreciate you all. Go Phils. God bless Rhys Hoskins.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way everywhere. This is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.